All right, Olivia, we are live once again. We're making this happen.
We are live. Once again, I'm seeing people active in the chat already, which is making me happy. Fun to see where y'all are joining us from. Kevin and I are both in Colorado.
Fort Collins. What's up, Ben?
Nice. Lovely. For everyone just joining, we'll go ahead and get started. We like to give people just a moment to show up so they don't miss the beginning, but thank you for being here today. Kevin is going to walk you through a masterclass on 5 most important things you can be doing to get 50 inspections this year. This is especially important for any newer inspectors joining us, but there will be so many things that you can learn even if you're further along in your business. So we're so excited to have y'all here.
Absolutely. Even Brad from Orlando. If you're saying 1,200 inspections, that's amazing. Congrats. This might be old news to you, but as we all know, these are the basics, and our industry doesn't change in some ways in terms of getting inspections, and good reminders are always needed. But for a lot of you new inspectors, make sure to throw it in the comments if you do hear something that maybe is either incorrect or slightly different in your market, or really resonates and is something that you're absolutely going to do. So this is definitely intended for a lot of you newer folks that are looking to get off the ground. And again, some of this is going to be redundant if you've tuned into any of our other content, but that's the point. A lot of this it's great habits that you got to keep hammering on.
Exactly. And I think something I've noticed, Kevin, is the best inspectors, or the inspectors that get the most inspections, are the ones who keep revisiting, okay, how do I get more? Let's reevaluate my strategy. Is there something I haven't been doing that I could do? Because when you're constantly keeping a pulse on that, that's when you're able to get ahead of other people in your market. So inspectors, seasoned or brand new out the gate, you'll find something here.
Yep. And we were just talking about the nuggets before we came on, Olivia. I view it like practicing your jump shot. It's like, just because you're a great shooter doesn't mean you stop practicing. And that's kind of what we're going to get into.
Excellent.
Lots of Florida folks in the house. Love that. All right. So here's basically what we're going to cover in our 5 strategies, tactics, whatever you want to call it. There's a couple old school ones, a couple new school ones. This is going to encompass agent facing strategies and home buyer facing strategies. So we're not going to delineate between those two a ton today, but we're going to just show you the 5 strategies I have heard and seen inspectors do really well with over the years that I want you guys to really zone in on. So let's start. So hitting the streets, old school. So open houses. It's one of the rare times where you have a captive audience, where you have an agent, a realtor that has to be there for hours. That is often lonely, sometimes bored. I have been that agent before. I have sat in on open houses. I've been to many. How do you find them? Let's just jump right into the tactics. So Zillow, this is a screenshot of Zillow. You can see here, I just did this search yesterday in Denver for open houses this weekend. 171 results I got. So if each of you here Google Zillow open houses, Galveston, Texas, or Sacramento, California, you're going to get this list. And oftentimes you can click into each listing and find the listing agent, find their contact info, all in Zillow, and reach out to that agent. So this is how you find the list. So you can document this however you wish. For those of you that love outsourcing and love virtual assistants, you could go to Fiverr, FIVERR.com, and you can put in requests for someone to literally pull out all this information and put it into a spreadsheet for you. And you usually can get it same day, if not the very next day. So if you don't want to do the manual work and you want to pay $10, $20 for data entry, that's what's going to get you there quickly. How to do this well. So let's just go through a little bit of what I just talked about. So you got to find out who the agent is that's going to be there. So you can do that either by looking at the listing agent. The big agents are not going to be at those open houses. They're going to send a more junior person, which is wonderful for you newer inspectors, because you want to talk to a newer agent or someone that's maybe not as busy to get your reps in. So a lot of times you just call the listing agent or the brokerage office, find out who's going to be hosting the open house, find their contact info in Zillow, or you do some Google stalking, and you send them an email and text that you're going to be stopping by. So it can be, hey, my name's Zach Mills. I run this inspection company in town. I'm going to swing by, bring you a snack. So show up early. Number 3 here. So you want to show up early before it gets busy, because if you show up midway through, or say it's a 12 o'clock open house, 12 to 2 or 12 to 4, if you show up midway through, you're going to hit the highest traffic time and you're not going to get one-on-one time with that agent. So if you can get there early, after they're set up or while they're setting up, you can have some good kind of water cooler talk with them. Send a follow-up email and text afterwards. So you're going to be on top of their mind if you have even a decent conversation. Say you only talk for 30 seconds or a minute, but you make sure you shake hands, look them in the eye. They know your name. They have your card. You have their card. You got to send that follow-up maybe that evening or the next day to really reinforce that, hey, we met. You're going to answer my call or email in the future if I send you something. That's what that's for. So don't underestimate the power of follow-ups. And then a few weeks later is when you can get into asking for the business or connecting more on social or asking for a coffee meeting. So let me pause there. Olivia, anything you want to jump in with?
I just want to jump in and say those number 4 and number 5 on that list, that follow-up and asking for business is so key, because when you meet someone in person, you can have such a great connection. But think about how many points of contact someone is having at an open house. And even if they have your business card, they have your website, are they necessarily going to remember your name? I just saw something, I think an inspector posted on Facebook, and I wish I could remember who it was. But he had this great spiel about how he wasn't afraid to be a little annoying when he was reaching out to agents, and how that repetition like doubled or tripled his inspection volume or something like that. And I think that's so key to touch on, because you can have this fear that, oh, I'm bugging agents if I'm calling too much, if I'm emailing too much. And it's like, Kevin, as an agent, maybe you can speak to this, but like agents, like inspectors, very busy people, those multiple points of contact, reminding them who you are, reminding them that you're open for new inspections. That's really key to actually turning that connection into an inspection.
That's such a great point, Olivia. It's like business dating, where you have to have a little confidence before maybe you get the validation that you're doing something right. And I think as an agent, when someone has their, say, unique value proposition down, or they know who they are, they know why they should be talking to you, I felt that, and it made me more open to learning more, or being like, I want to know this person as a business associate. So you have to be prepared, and you can't half step it. And so that's where the deep work on what unique value do you bring comes in. What's your angle? What do you serve? Who do you serve? Why? How involved you are in the community? Great point. Quick question: what can you pay $10 for? So right here on this screen, when you all go to Google and type in Sacramento Zillow open houses, you're going to see this list of a ton of open houses. It's a lot to click through. So what you would be paying for is a virtual assistant, often in another country, that will click through all these, put everything in a spreadsheet for you. So then you can just hit them up quickly and reach out to the agents and be more efficient.
I'm going to post this in the chat, but highly recommend looking on sites like Fiverr and Upwork. That's really, I'll put those in the chat so we remember those names, but those are really easy sites to find someone who will do this work for you, just like one-off at a pretty low cost. And especially if it's something, if you're short on time, it's really key to have someone do that for you. And it won't cost much at all.
Yep, exactly. Because the outreach to the agent, to the person hosting the open house, is where the magic is. And that's what you want to get to as quick as possible and reduce friction with administrative work. If it's taking hours to even create your list of contacts, you can fast forward that in this day and age for often for cheap. Okay, a few tips on open houses: bring snacks, bottles of water, little snacks, anything that helps you stand out or be unique. If the agent does respond to you when you email them, maybe ask them what their favorite snack is. Maybe ask them if they want a Gatorade or a water or whatever. A little thing like that can help. One idea I thought of the other day that I've seen agents do this, but is printing off like a little checklist of things, lightweight home inspection things to look for, that you can give home buyers. Something like that might take you 30 minutes to whip up in Canva. So canva.com, that's another one, Olivia, we can put in there of like, everyone here is a designer now. Canva makes everyone look like a half legit designer, even Olivia and myself. Pretty amazing. So you can go in there, and what you do is you find a template and then you just change the text out, and then you can print it off as a PDF. So little things like that, I think agents would appreciate if you left for home buyers. And then you could also do it differently if you just create a QR code. A QR code basically is easy to generate nowadays, to put on a laminated piece of paper, and people, the muscle memory's there after COVID for QR codes. So I think it's still kind of underutilized by home inspectors. But what that does is we'll get people to maybe scan that QR code, and it takes them to your website. And that can be an article on how to maintain a home, or what to look for when you're doing showings with your agent, or top defects to know about when you're going on showings. Just lightweight pieces of content that you all can create with your knowledge. So even if you're brand new, I think through all of the training that you guys have done, you know enough to create an article. Because to be honest, Olivia and I have created hundreds of articles over the years just from finding what's out there online, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think you can underestimate how much you really have available to you and how much you can do. And I know for me, when when I think about writing something, some of what gets in my way is I don't feel like I am the most authorized person, or I used to struggle with that, especially when I first started writing and creating all kinds of resources. You are such an expert in your profession that anything you create will be such a useful tool to the agents who are consuming it.
And we cannot assume that the majority of home buyers know even the basics when it comes to home maintenance or common defects, just the things that are in your head, even as a technical person. So create that content, bring it to the open houses, and see what happens. See if it's helpful. One big one here: dress well. I think if you don't yet have the custom polos or hats, still dress up even a little, because agents are that way. They will see you as a peer and equally professional. And then ask plenty of questions. That's gonna, you guys are gonna see that as a theme here. When in doubt, ask the agent questions about what they're seeing in the environment, what buyers are saying, the NAR settlement. If you don't know what that is, go watch our previous office hours, or Google NAR lawsuit and settlement, and you'll learn what happened. All right, number 2. If you don't know why I'm showing this picture, we created a little bit of a system here at Spectora on how to reach out to 300 agents in 3 months, to get a certain amount of work. Basically, it's something like $30,000 in revenue that you can get in the first year by targeting 300 agents in 3 months. So what is it? So to break this down for you simply, it's basically emailing, calling, and following on social media 300 real estate agents in your market within 3 months. And it's really just an accountability system. It's not rocket science, but what it does is it gives you something to shoot for.
And I just want to jump in really quickly and say we have a whole video tutorial of what this challenge is in Spectora Academy. So if you just go to spectora.com, on the top nav, there's resources. You can click straight into Academy and find it there under building agent relationships. That's a section of the content we have there, and get this downloadable spreadsheet. So for anyone who's like, what is this? I want to learn more, because it's a great system that Kevin built. We have all that available in case we don't cover it completely today.
Cool. And what differentiates this? So the open house approach, obviously that's one where you're going and finding people that weekend and you're talking one-to-one, right? So that's like quality over quantity. This is a little bit of both. This is partly quantity, where you're going to have 300 agents that you're going to call, email, and reach out to over the course of 3 months. And so you want to be thoughtful still and research who these agents are, and put something basically personal to them in those emails and mention on a phone call. But it's 3 a day. That's it. And so that's the beauty of this system is like, can you reach out to and follow on social media 3 realtors per day for 3 months? I think you guys can. And I think the volume and repetition here is what wins the day, not necessarily overthinking it or spending too much time on any one agent. So this is a different approach here where you're really spraying far and wide. And in this system, you guys are going to find it. I know Olivia's got it scrolling here on the bottom, and she'll maybe even link to it. But the point is, you go to Zillow and you find these 300 agents that are in your market. And again, you use a virtual assistant or go somewhere like Fiverr, Upwork to create that list and put in a spreadsheet for you. And I know because I did it. I went through and did it for Denver just to see if I could do it quickly. And it was super simple. So now you have this spreadsheet of 300 agents, and you're basically going to follow them on social media, and you're going to start commenting on their posts. And then you're going to email them with something specific or something funny or something unique. And then you're going to call and ask for the coffee meeting or ask for a slot to present to their brokerage at a lunch meeting. Or if you're ready, you just ask for the business. And remember, we always preach this. It's not, hey, I want to be your home inspector. The next time you get a job, call me. It's, hey, I would love to be a backup if you have a primary home inspector. If he ever gets busy or you can't get a hold of him, I would love to be on your list. I'll send you a follow-up email, give you some reasons why, but would love to have the opportunity to work with you. Or you just flow with the conversation. So much of sales and what you guys are in is sales, essentially. You are selling yourself, is going with the flow of the conversation and seeing where it takes you. If they're super chatty, want to talk about the market, guess what? You're talking about the market. All right. Throw in questions on these. We're going through these quick, so we can leave time for questions at the end, but we'll move right along. Okay, number 3. Everyone raise your hand if you dislike social media. I don't care if you don't like it. There's a lot of parts about social media, y'all, that I despise, and despite my thoughts about what I think it's doing for society, it's a place where lots of people hang out, especially people that are in a very social business like realtors.
Yes, and I do want to jump in with something here, and it's that you're going to have the best success meeting agents wherever they are. So you'll notice a lot of the strategies that we're talking about today are focusing on getting you to a place where you are guaranteed to, at the very least, find agents, right? Like that's the first step. And I don't know if you all see as many real estate agents creating content as I do on social, but they're there, they're very active. That's a big way and a big thing they're investing in their business. So if I saw someone earlier in the chat actually say, I use open houses a lot because I am such an extrovert. If you don't feel as comfortable making that face-to-face connection first, I think social media is one of the best places you can win.
That's a great point, Olivia. So one, you have to be where the people are and where the party is. So it's just like, if you don't like going out, but you want to meet people, you might have to get out of the house and meet people. So social is just the online version of that. I will say, if you don't like the face-to-face or the pound the pavement approaches, still wrap your head around being as personable or as personal as you can on social media, because I think in this day and age, we talk on social media differently sometimes than we do in person. You still have to bring it and be in that mindset of wanting to connect with people on social. It is not a cheap way or a shortcut. It does take effort. So I do want to really caveat this with saying, if you don't like it, if you think it's going to be easy, it's still going to take effort, and you have to think of it that way. A couple episodes that we've done on the podcast, I'm going to direct you all to, and we can link to these or send this afterwards. But if you just Google Spectora Spotlight and go to episode 129 with Bailey McHugh, or episode 79 or 86 with Phil Dancer, they each specifically talk about how they've utilized Instagram to get business. And I think that each of them they say they've never done an in-person agent meeting, which is pretty powerful. And at least Bailey identifies kind of as an introvert. Phil, he'll talk your ear off. He's Mr. Personable. You'll see why he loves creating social media content. But there's a reason he didn't want to go into offices and talk to agents. Quick question. I'll just get to it. The main social media being used with agents, Facebook and Instagram. If you just want the most bang for the buck, it's Facebook and it's Instagram. Yeah, they spend time on LinkedIn because they're professionals and they're always trying to network. The younger, more savvy ones, yeah, they're using TikTok. But if you want to capture the majority of them from my research, it's Facebook and Instagram. All right, where to start? Because that's the question I get all the time. They're just like, Kevin, Olivia, like, okay, great. Where do I start? So I'll even go a step before any of this. Create an account on Facebook and Instagram if you don't have it. Create a business account. I think everyone needs the business account. You can still use your personal if you want. That's more of an advanced strategy, but start with the business account. Get on there and just use the search bar in Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube and search for top home inspector accounts to see what's being done out there by home inspectors. That's step one. So go to Phil Dancer's Instagram, go to Bailey McHugh's Instagram, and see what they're posting and just browse it. Look at it from a curious standpoint, not from a consuming content standpoint, and see their angle, see what they're posting.
I want to chime in here with something else I love. Talk to Sarah and Andrew Wilson. I think you also had them on the pod a while ago. But Sarah, it manages the social media for their business. They're based in North Carolina. And when I got to talk to her about her strategy, I loved it because she wasn't super comfortable with posting at first. But what she did was reach out and message agents and ask questions because she was like, I'm newer to this business. I am trusting the agents as experts in this industry. And just by starting conversations without even having to have, at the beginning at least, like super high quality posts, that's how she built a lot of the relationships, which I think is really cool because sometimes I want to say post content, that's huge. Go again, as Kevin said, look at some of the best inspectors out there doing it. It's great. But more than anything, be willing to engage there too. And if you're a little nervous getting on video at first, feeling like your content isn't reaching that many folks, don't be afraid to send a DM and just start conversations because that's really how you build a lot of the relationships.
And that's a wonderful point, Olivia. At the core, everyone wants to be helpful, I believe, most people. And agents are no different. And so if you can find a couple questions to just ask, that is harder to ignore than, hey, I'm a new inspector in the area. Let me know if. I think when people start comments with "let me know," that's very passive and easy to ignore. But if you give them a very specific question, they're going to want to help. They're going to want to help you. So Olivia alluded to number 2 here. Posting is hard because we're all worried about being judged. We all don't like our voices or noses or eyes or face, whatever it is, right? We're all insecure, and that's okay. If you can find it in you to do little tips of the day, or again, go to Canva, and if you want to create little quotes or, any little snippets, it doesn't have to be your face, keep in mind. The point of this is if you do message an agent or you do start commenting on agent posts, sometimes they'll get curious and go to your page. They'll click on your Instagram profile, right? And if it's completely empty, it might suggest that you're brand new and that you don't have a lot out there yet. So that's the reason for number 2 is if you have at least 6, 9, 12 posts, it might be like, okay, they're fairly active, or maybe, some people don't post all the time and that's okay, but you don't want it to look completely sparse. Would you agree, Olivia? Nope, you're muted.
Sorry, I think my Wi-Fi cut out there for a moment. Also blinking the lights on me in here, but yes, I would totally agree. And I think I was trying to find a webinar to link to, but there's some really important things you can do that aren't high effort to just have something on your page, like a strategy I've seen when you're just first getting started up is if you have a good Google review, just finding a pretty template to put that on, posting that so an agent landing on your page immediately sees, okay, someone's had a good experience working with this inspector, and things like that maybe aren't as high effort as some of the videos you're seeing if you're just getting things on your page when you're like day one, creating your social media profiles. I think that's important too.
Yep. And if you guys want an idea, there are millions of facts about the home that you could Google. You could probably literally Google 100 home facts or home maintenance tips or statistics, and that could be your content. And it can just be a picture of yourself, even with the second slide being the statistic listed. So don't think you have to be some content creation expert to do this. Again, view what others are doing, and you'll get some good ideas.
I'll link it in the chat too. But we have so many in the sales and marketing tips of Spector Academy. We've done tons of webinars on this. Don't want to break all of it down now for the sake of time, but I'm going to link that in the chat as well for anyone who wants to watch some of this, get some inspiration for social media ideas after.
Perfect. All right, number 3. So this is the biggest one, y'all. So commenting on agent posts. So to review, you're going to get on Instagram or Facebook. You're going to follow all of these realtor and agent accounts in your area, and you can find them by just putting in the search bar Austin Realtor, Denver Realtor, and you're going to see all these most popular accounts. So you're going to follow them, and then you're going to check in every day, every other day, however often you feel comfortable spending on here. And you're going to comment as if you were in real life and they just showed you something, or they just showed you that their kid just scored a goal in soccer or whatever it is. And you want to actually put a minute of thought into this. You don't want to just like it. Liking it is not enough. They don't see likes usually. They see comments, and people check their comments quite a bit when they post a lot on social media. So you're giving them a little vote of confidence by commenting. You're stroking their ego a little bit. So that's why you commenting on their posts is so powerful and important. And it's got to be thoughtful, unique, funny, supportive, positive. That's what the angle we're kind of going for here. That's what people want to be around at what I call the party of social media. Few bullet points here. I'm a big fan of getting in and getting out of there and not getting distracted. So logging in as your business account, and give whether it's 5, 10, 15 minutes, however long you have to dedicate to this, but set a time. And I think setting that number is important because it holds you accountable. And then you're not just scrolling. You don't get distracted. You don't get lost in there. So give yourself a timer, and it forces action. Like I do this for me personally, and it helps. And so I think the brain candy of social media, they want you distracted. They want you to get lost in the vortex. And so if you can get in, get out for business purposes, I like it. Treat these people as if you were face to face. Again, it's personal, and treat it as if it was someone you know that was talking to you or telling you what they're up to. You engage in real conversation. And again, force yourself to be curious. Ask questions in the comments that you're writing. Try to further the conversation somehow. I think that's the point, is don't just generic comments like awesome, great, wonderful. Yes, that's commenting, but that's not furthering the conversation. And so what I mean by that is think of something that you can really bring to the table, as opposed to just those one-word comments.
Yeah, I can't second that enough. The ask questions is so great, because that encourages someone to respond rather than just putting a statement out there and hoping they notice it. If you are actively engaging, that is going to be much more likely to get someone to engage back with you.
Yep.
It's a great point, Kevin.
And Louisa, yeah, honorable mention here for Nextdoor. It's a neighborhood app. I think like neighborhood apps, anything local. Also, I don't quite classify it as social media, but it's kind of in that bucket. Okay, speaking of local, so here's angle number 4, becoming a local networking machine. And that is showing up and being everywhere in the conversation, in social and in real life, or on social media and in real life. So again, get active on Nextdoor, local Facebook groups, associations, join them all. Set your notifications to be notified when a new post happens, so then you can actually jump in the conversation, because they're happening all over. I follow all my local groups. I see business posts all the time in there for realtors, for home maintenance people. So there's just always not many home inspectors in there. I always notice that. I'm always shocked that there's not a ton of home inspectors not in there just making connections.
And I want to just hop on a quick point here that we talked about in the last office hours as we were breaking down the NAR lawsuit, but showing up in your community is so important because all of the people in your community are future home buyers, right? And a lot of the time, most of the time probably, the home buyer is finding you through an agent, but there are also going to be times when they just remember you because they met, oh, my local home inspector at this event, or I see this home inspection business showing up in all of these local groups. That makes a big difference. And so I think this is such an undervalued piece of what you can be doing for your business because your target market is just everyone who lives around you, either now or in the future. People sell and buy homes all the time, as you know.
Yeah. And I saw a survey that showed word of mouth referrals from home buyer to home buyer within their neighborhood is an increasing percentage of jobs that are being had by home inspectors. So it was a survey of home inspectors that said, I am getting increasingly more jobs from people referring me in their neighborhoods to each other. So that speaks to this strategy right here, which is be everywhere local. And a lot of times DMs happen when you're just talking with someone on Nextdoor and they're like, hey, does anyone have any recommendations? You DM them, you follow up, and then you start to build a reputation there. So when it comes to local, and I'm envisioning local events, chapters, things you can show up to in person. When you engage with these people, always start with talking about their passion or their family, something outside of work. This is just more of a general tip, I believe, when talking with business associates. It's something I've done for a long time, going to conferences and networking. It opens people up. People drop their guard when you ask people something else besides the work. And then you can go into how they make a living after you kind of get them to talk about something that lights them up. And when you're doing this networking, when you're in these groups, ask them if you can follow up and stay connected. Sometimes I think that's underrated. It's the most simple tip in the book is like, hey, do you mind if I shoot you an email and we stay connected? Then they're looking out for it. And so once you've done this and once you've met a handful of people in your community, then you can just start asking for referrals and ask for the business because everyone in your community knows at least 5 realtors. They know at least 10 people that are just bought a home or about to buy a home. Just simply asking if they know someone that they could introduce you to, I believe is one of the most powerful hacks in business.
Totally. And I just saw Louisa commented something which I think rings true for a lot of you. Are we going to have any time for inspector detail? And I just want to say, we know this is a lot. And especially when you're first starting out and just feeling totally overwhelmed, like this can seem like so much to do, but it's so worth it. And then the second thing is not every single one of these strategies is going to be your bread and butter in your community, but especially for any newer inspectors out there, I don't know if you'd agree, Kevin, but I think doing as much as you can will pay off so well later as you're trying to build your business, as you're trying to meet agents, meet people in your community, and get to those 50 inspections. Like, yes, it's going to be long days. You're going to have to work very hard, but the goal and what we've seen is that it does pay off.
Yes. Yeah, I can speak to that, having gone through it with Spectora being a startup 8-9 years ago. If you're doing this full time, you have more time maybe than you have money. So plow the time into this. I think your organization levels are going to be on display. So I think you have to be organized and manage your calendar and time block. I'm a big time block person in terms of, nope, Wednesday mornings, I'm hitting up my 3 realtors, I'm going to 2 open houses, and then I'm doing 30 minutes of social media and time block it. It does wonders for you. If you're doing this part-time, you're going to have to pick and choose on these strategies. I think you're going to have to really go all in or sprinkle around these couple different strategies. All right. I want to talk to agents. I hate social media. First of all, you're going to have to get over some of those stories. Like, let's be real. If you're a startup, which a lot of you are a customer service person, you're a salesperson, you're a marketer, and you're a home inspector, almost in that order. So you have to, I think, challenge some of these self-beliefs and stories about what you're good at, because I have seen people turn things around and do things they never thought they would do because they want to succeed that bad. So I think maybe it starts with your why. Like, why are you doing this in the first place? So I show you these two screenshots here because these are basically ads in directories. So when you don't want to talk to agents, don't want to do social, you're really left with paid advertising, right? As kind of a final kind of concept here. So if each of you take some homework, go and search Denver home inspector and then search your own city. So all of you put where you're from. I want you to go to Google and type in your city and then the word home inspector. I just want you to observe what the results look like. Some of you might see this Google guarantee, which is paid ads through Google to show up there. So that's local paid advertising that you can do to show up at the top and get those clicks from home buyers. And then on the right here, this is a directory listing from either Angie or Home Advisor, Thumbtack, one of those. And I show you this to illustrate that some very experienced, great companies in the industry still use these directories as a source of business. So all of you might go to a forum or ask on a Facebook group, hey, home inspectors, should I run ads on X? Not literally X, not Twitter, but like on this platform. And you're going to get like 99% of inspectors just shit all over it and say it's a scam, it's a waste of money, blah, blah, blah. So I've been in this business long enough that the ones that it works for, they don't usually say anything. They don't comment because it's working for them and they don't want you to go get business from them because it's a competitive platform. So I will tell everyone here to test your own assumptions and to test different platforms and test for a return on investment. Do not believe the old cranky home inspectors that tried ads 20 years ago. I'll just say it how it is. A lot of them are going to be jaded and negative and not even up to date with what's working in the modern tech environment. So do your own diligence and look at your own search results.
I do want to say something important there, though. If you are running ads, track your ROI, figure out how much you're actually making versus what you're spending, because it is, a different strategy than social media, which obviously, nothing is free when you're putting time into it, but it is more free in the sense that you can build a social media presence without sinking straight up dollars into there, at least at the beginning. So if you are setting up ads, just make sure you're actually paying attention to how much you're getting from them, what jobs you're getting from them. And like a lot of ad campaigns, you do have to give them a little bit of time to convert, but make sure you have a good awareness of what those numbers are for your business and go in with an idea of what you're probably comfortable spending there and what your target ROI is. Yep. That's my 2 cents there.
Perfect. And if you talk to a rep from Thumbtack, Yelp, Angie, tell them your budget. Say, hey, I have $300 or I have $500. How many jobs can that get me?
Yes.
And so then you can really track it. I went through this, search your own city, see what the results will look like. That will be a guide on where you could potentially spend some budget. So if Yelp is nowhere to be found on the first page of Google, or even in the top 10, guess what? Don't worry about spending too much on Yelp because they're probably not getting a lot of visibility from home buyers in your market that are looking for you. All right. If you do ads on social media, like Facebook, Instagram, my tip is to not make it about necessarily asking for the business and saying, hey, I'm a home inspector. Call me if you need a job. Call me if you need a home inspection. It's people go to social media to be entertained. Olivia, maybe you can speak a little to this of like the point of social advertising versus intent-based advertising on Google.
I actually don't have a ton to say to that. I think what I would say is think about what you are wanting to see and what you pay attention to when you go on a platform. So if you're doing social-based advertising, if you see an ad that's just kind of, for lack of a better word, boring, like what you might see on Google, like just a business name and what you do, that's not going to get you to engage because people go on social and they just scroll. They're there to be, for the most part, to be entertained. Some of them might be there for business, but regardless, like Kevin said, you have to create content that will actually hook people. Whereas Google, you don't.
Yep. Yeah, and Brandon, I'd be curious if you did the general Google ads. In the chat, Brandon said he tried to use Google ads and it seemed to just cost me a lot of small ROI. The Google guaranteed are like local ads that appear a little different than the traditional Google ads that show just like a search result. So we can chat more about that. But yes, paid advertising, you have to run a tight ship. There's little room for error because if you just let it run wild, you will blow through a lot of budget quickly, which is why it doesn't work for most people. I think that's why I actually understand when inspectors say ads are a waste, because a lot of times they're not being done with proper guidance, with the proper keyword targeting. It's a vast world. So one thing I would say, go do your research. Go on Facebook and Instagram and notice what ads you do see, if at all, and see if any of those are in the home services space. What are they doing? And then you can kind of get a sense for what's out there. Notice the angle that they're taking. But again, I think you can never fail on social if you're helpful, interesting, creative, and not generic. So look at your own advertising through the lens. Is this generic? Is this what everyone else says? If so, okay, maybe you didn't spend a ton of effort on it, and that's okay. You can go back to the drawing board and think about what's unique and what's interesting.
Absolutely. Well said. Excellent.
All right. Again, to one of the questions we got, all of these can work, guys, but if you have limited time, limited budget, just think about how to make these interactions high quality as possible, because agents agents are people too. They're busy, and I think they get pitched a lot, and you want to have your best foot forward in terms of what you're saying, what you're offering. Or if your structure and your organization is really on point, like the 300, that can help you accelerate some of this, and you can reach out to a lot of agents and have it be high quality.
Absolutely.
All right. Did we have any throughout? So let's see. Let me.
Yeah, I do want to just highlight one. We have Luisa saying, what about SEO with Spectora? I think it's funny. Kevin and I did not really talk about SEO, which is both of our backgrounds. And usually when Kevin and I are in a space together, we do talk about SEO. But at Spectora, we do have a program called SEO Boost. It is designed really to help with listing management and to really give your Google business profile the boost it needs. Do you have any comments on, like, I don't know, home inspectors and SEO strategies in this current landscape?
You know, it's a lot of the same, which is if you're brand new, don't think about or worry about SEO right away, because there's nothing you can do to get to rank number one quickly. So I guess the PSA is it's not a system that can be gamed. I think the focus should be on getting those first 10 inspections and then getting those 10 home buyers to leave you a Google review. So a lot of times, a lot of new inspectors, we anti-sell our own product and say, like, no, you don't probably need this right away. It's for people that want to get ahead of the game and build that foundation and have the budget to do so. So to me, if you're really limited on budget.
Although I will say, like, building up, so something about SEO is your, like, authority on Google accrues over time. So if you are able to pay, that's something that's so important to start building up from the beginning, especially your Google business profile, especially your listings. So when we talk about listings, that's your business information across Facebook, Yelp, anywhere you can appear on the internet. Getting that consistent, and that's what Spectora's SEO does, is so important to build over time. So while you might not see results right away, that work is incredibly important to do. And so that's why we built our SEO product the way we built it. And I would say that, like, that's a very important thing to invest in.
Because that's a good point. Yeah, because once Google sees some reviews, they're used to your website, they kind of have an idea of who you are. Those directory listings is what they check for. So I maybe misstated that in that, like, it will accelerate things down the road, but it's not going to happen on day one.
Yeah, and I think what I understood what you were getting at is, like, as a new inspector, if you just start investing in SEO, if you just, build a Google business profile, but you're not out there meeting agents, if you're not doing active outreach, that's probably not going to get you that many clients in and of itself. you can't just say, I built my Google business profile and then wait for everyone to come to you.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to flash this one up here, talking about a city with over 1 million residents. It's hard to get to that coveted first page, and ads are competing with all the others. Completely agree. Competitive cities, it can be tough. And that's where SEO is truly a long-term strategy. And there's things you can do if you're doing your own SEO with blog posting, getting more Google reviews, that you have to build into your day-to-day practices. And so when you do get those 10, 20, 50 inspections, you have a process that gets you Google reviews. You have a process that gets you ideas for content that you can put on your website that eventually gets you to that first page. But it has to be a thoughtful strategy from day one. So that's a topic for another day. But just acknowledging that, yes, getting to page one, let alone the top three, very difficult. But it takes blogging, it takes directory listings, it takes Google reviews. Those are the 3 pillars to SEO success.
Yep. We got another question. Oh, go for it.
Yep. Spending some time in each tactic, or better to focus on one for higher quality? It depends. I know that's the worst answer that in the world, but I think if you start seeing results, or if you have a skew towards spending time on social, or if you're great in person, maybe you do the open houses because that's your kind of skill set. I love trying them all out too, if you can find the time. But I think efficiency, if you're all about efficiency, you got to go with where your time feels best spent. Because if you convert 4 out of 5 realtors that you speak to at an open house, that might be more worth your time than sending out emails and making phone calls.
Absolutely. All right. We have one that I want to talk about, which Dan's saying we haven't talked about Google My Business profile yet. It's been very useful to me in my other business. However, we did not discuss it yet. Any thoughts on tips on how to optimize? So when you're filling out your Google Business profile, there are certain fields that are required. My first tip, always don't skip over any of those. Answer frequently asked questions, make sure you have a business address in there, make sure your hours are correct, get good quality photos of your business up there, and then get every single inspection. You should be asking for a review on Google on site, and you should be following up by email or text, or if you're ambitious, and I recommend both afterwards, because those Google reviews are the best way, in my opinion, other than just filling out all of the information on your Google Business profile, that you can really jump ahead. We always laud businesses that get a ton of Google reviews because it's a big accomplishment. It's not always the easiest thing to do, which is why, again, we say ask on site and remind after. If you use Spector Advanced or have advanced actions, you can get really fancy with asking for those and make sure that you're sending emails out when clients haven't left you a review. But that's the number one way to optimize.
Great call. I think one of those Phil Dancer podcast episodes, he talks about how he got, I think it was an 80% take rate on people that he did inspection for that left him a Google review, which is insanely high. And I believe, listen to the episode, but I believe he just asked multiple times, like Olivia said, at the house, and the emails are very direct with a link to Google My Business to leave you that review.
Yeah, that's a great point. In any follow-up you do after, whether it's by text or email, getting them a link that'll take you directly where they can review your profile is important, because if you're just telling them, hey, go to my Google Business profile, you're adding so many steps for them that they might not take, versus if they have a link that they can just click, it's easy enough for someone to leave 5 stars.
Yep.
Wonderful. All right, let's see what else we got. Blog posts. How many blog posts should you post in a normal month? What is normal for a successful inspector? 1 a week, or should you strive for more to get better SEO? I think this is a really interesting question. I'm never going to discourage blogging, and I'd love to know your thoughts, because I think blogging is great, but the first focus should be your Google Business profile, and then you can work on blogging. I'd say 1 a week is really ambitious. Consistency is more key. I hear a lot of inspectors aim to get out 1 a month, maybe 2 a month if they have the bandwidth. But I think that blogging is very important, but I never recommend doing it first before you have a good solid website built and before you have a Google Business profile optimized, just in today's SEO landscape, where for a little context, a lot of people, unless they're clicking on a business profile, aren't clicking out of Google as much first. So I just always say, like, blog isn't going to be the first thing to convert. It's a great thing you can do to build your SEO as you're further along in your business. What do you think on that, Kevin?
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is think about your audience first. So who are these blog posts for? Because the distribution of them is what matters nowadays. Because yes, you can go write 10 common defects, 5 ways to maintain your HVAC. Like you can write all these posts, but like how do people get to them? So if it's for the purposes of putting in a newsletter for agents or clients, write as much as you have to say. Like as much as good content you have to put out there, write that, because you have a way to get it to people. So to me, as long as there's a way to get it in front of people,
Yeah,
do as much as you want.
that's incredible advice. And I'd say that's the biggest thing to keep in mind when you're creating blog posts is make sure you're writing about things, for the most part, that are multi-use. I've seen so much success for folks home inspectors who write blog posts like, what is a radon inspection, or why do I need a sewer scope inspection, or any of that, and then use that to upsell those ancillary services. Or like Kevin said, blog posts that'll be really informative to agents in a newsletter. Like if you're just writing blogs for the purpose of SEO, that's not going to be your highest ROI, but having them and using them across your upsells, across your agent education, and as like value propositions that you can tout, then yeah, please spend a lot of time on that if you can do it well.
Oh, I got one bonus tip too. I think every company can write a blog post that they send to buyers and agents in their reminder emails. So like when someone books an inspection with you, usually you get the reminder email, hey, thanks for booking. Your inspection is this time and date. There's often a lot of questions buyers and agents have at that stage. So I think every company should have their own, hey, what to expect from a home inspection. Hey, 10 things that we normally find on home inspections. Because one, you make your job easier. Your future self will thank you because your home buyer's expectations are set a little better, and it takes a little the fear out of, oh my God, what if I point out a bunch of red defects? But you're getting clicks on it because you have a captive audience. They're going to look at your reminder email and text, and you're getting some clicks to your website.
Absolutely. Wonderful. What do you think? We got time for one or two more questions?
Yeah. I just want to hit this one with the Good Old Boy Network. A lot of people are in smaller towns, and we've created some content on this in the past, but I think there's a couple different ways you can navigate this. I think making connections directly with the people in the town, the homeowners and potential home buyers, is one way. And sometimes that's through social media, that's through local networking events, because then if you are a man or woman of the people, then the agents then could follow, because a lot of times, yeah, it is a Good Old Boy Network in terms of agents. But two, you also brute force it with adding value. And that can be social media, that can be the blog post, that can be knowing your market just better than anyone else. So then you can bring something to those conversations. So I think if you absolutely become the expert on anything real estate related, people can't ignore you.
Yeah, very well said. Wonderful. We got another question about social media platforms. Can you rank social media platforms 1, 2, 3 of importance and necessity? The first thing I'd say on this is so dependent on your market. Like Kevin and I were talking about earlier, you just have to be where the agents in your community and in your market are. That said, as Kevin said earlier, Instagram and Facebook is where we're seeing most agents, and I think just most people who are buying homes, active and searching out the kind of content you'd be posting. We are, or I at least am seeing more home inspectors who are really blowing up on TikTok. I'm always curious how well that converts, because when you're getting millions and millions of views, that's huge, but are you actually networking with agents? So my ranking would be Instagram and Facebook tied at 1 and 2. You can decide which one's most important for you. Maybe Instagram at 1 in the markets I'm seeing, and then TikTok number 3. What do you think there, Kevin? LinkedIn too, actually. That would be my honorable mention.
Yeah. I think like it's hard to tell if you're thinking more consumer focused or home buyer focused. If you go into each of these platforms and search for agents in your area, you'll get a sense for how many are active on any given platform. It can vary by region and state. And so go where you see tons of agents with tons of followers, tons of active content, and that'll rank it for you. Let's Let's hit a couple more of these. Difference between SEO and Yelp, Google Ads from a visibility standpoint. What do you think?
Great question. So SEO, search engine optimization. I'm going to assume we're just talking about like organic, non-paid traffic on Google. Visibility of that is pretty big, assuming people search. I think the number we see is around 50,000 people per month are searching like home inspector near me. And that doesn't account for, any searches that include your specific city name. So it's more than that. So yes, there is a lot of visibility difference on Google. SEO versus ads is interesting because ads are campaigns you run. So if you run through, you set a budget on Google Ads, and if you run through that budget in a certain time, you might not be being shown all the time. So if you have a good SEO ranking, theoretically, that's more consistent visibility. Yelp is interesting because Yelp, someone will actually have to go onto the Yelp platform. And I actually don't know a ton about the visibility of that versus Google Ads. Do you, Kevin?
Well, there's one thing. So if you're in a bigger city, Yelp and some of these other directories tend to do better because they have more inspectors paying for the service or using it. And so that's where it goes back to like doing the search for a home inspector in your city and seeing if Yelp shows up high up on the search page. Because if they do, then it's going to get a little more visibility. You might want to consider allocating some budget there. But if it's nowhere, in the top 5 or 10, it's tough to think people are going to end up on that page and hence find you there. So I would say bigger cities, maybe they got to consider it. Smaller towns like a Fort Collins or something, maybe not.
Yeah, well said. And I think, again, that's something I'd recommend testing, or, if you have a rep at Yelp you can talk to, asking them. Of course, they're going to try to be selling you a little bit, but generally speaking, I found that people you're working with from any of those platforms should have pretty good answers for you.
Cool. Let's speed through this. Speed round these. Do you have any quick ideas? I have 2.
Quick ideas. First of all, just show up professionally, show up as yourself, and let them know your website is on the way. I don't know if you have business cards, but anything branded you can show. That's my best idea for what you can do. And again, getting some quick posts up on your social media, having a built out Google business profile, which you can do yourself. That's what I would say. But yeah, glad to hear your Spectora website is coming. And we've just heard so much awesome feedback on how much agents really love seeing that professional website. But in the meantime, plenty of other ways you can show up.
Yeah, go to Canva, create a few brochures and flyers on Canva, and then post those on your Facebook and Instagram to kind of make it pop and show that you have like design assets and things of that nature.
Absolutely. All right. Let's see, what else do we have? I'm seeing, so we have Speedy Turtle saying opinion on best bang for your buck when it comes to local ads, chamber events, donations to ISD, or ads on a banner or similar. Kevin, I'm seeing we might need to do an ads office hour in the future because we're getting so many questions here, but any thoughts on this?
If again, track it. And so I would say if these local chamber events are thriving with agents, loan officers, title people, and you show up and you're shaking hands, you're getting numbers, you're connecting, put those into a spreadsheet and try to track it over the next couple months and see if anything comes from it. Because each chamber and local association is different. Some of them are just amazing and they throw great events and you can really network well, versus like, I don't know, like banner ads or kind of like magazines, publications. I'm like an old millennial, so to me, it's hard to believe those can yield some amazing results. But I'd love to be proven wrong too. And so I think track it, allocate budget, but then just come prepared. Again, dress well, shake hands, follow people on social afterwards. Then you give yourself the best chance.
Absolutely. Wonderful. All right, last thing I'm seeing, which we can just give a quick answer to, virtual address in a larger area or actual address. I assume this is referring to like Google Business Profile, local address. Do your actual address. Google's policies tend to be a bit iffy on this, but I have heard a lot of people saying that virtual addresses do not yield well for them if they're trying to capture a larger area. So just do your local address. That's the best advice I have heard, and that's the advice I would give when you're in doubt. someone on our specifically working on our SEO boost product might have a better answer for that. So if you also want to write into our chat, but we'll get some advice or check out SEO boost, let us know. Wonderful.
Well, thank you, everyone. This was amazing. The engagement off the charts. Really appreciate you guys engaging with us. I hope it was helpful. Let us know if this format and the office hours is something that's helpful to you, because we would love to keep doing these.
Again, yeah, and if you have any topics you want us to cover, please just let us know. We want to always make sure that when we're putting these on, we're telling you all what's most helpful for you and what you need to know and what you think Kevin and I, and specifically Kevin, can talk on. So yeah, feel free to send in suggestions, and thanks again for so many amazing questions today.
All right, everybody, let's go get it. It's a tough environment out there, but I think the ones who go after it and focus in on these will win, and we've seen it over and over again. So be that company, be that person, and keep leveraging the network and Spectora for motivation, inspiration, and tips. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.